Great to see you, Greg. Look, I just want to take you back a few days. At the Munich Security Conference, what were your thoughts when you heard the US Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, say that these negotiations to end the war in Ukraine won't have European involvement?
Well, it's a departure because, he said that, but now he's out of the picture. So without European involvement, of course, the US wants to lead this issue. And I get the impression with Donald Trump, because many of the European leaders have put themselves on his bad side by actively working against Donald Trump during the US presidential election last year. So that this can be seen as a bit of payback too for many of those European leaders. So, you've got different dynamics working, and we see the results of it today.
Greg, is Ukraine being betrayed here? Is that a legitimate analysis, or do you see this really as the only way to end this conflict? In other words, Donald Trump's idea that Ukraine should not expect to return to its original borders as they were before the Russian invasion, that Ukraine will have to give up territory.
Unfortunately, this is the path and end result of many of the US projects, which are similar, because Ukraine is an object of this game. It's not a subject. We saw what happened when the peace talks were disrupted in Turkey. Ukraine has been used, and you can see a number of the US and even British officials saying that this is a great investment for the US, that Russia has been weakened and contained, and no US or British lives are being lost. So, it's pretty grim for Ukraine to be caught in this. It needs to end. The country is absolutely devastated in every way imaginable, so it does need to end. And this is something that seemingly many European leaders cannot seem to really fathom and let alone sympathise with.
But Greg, as an expert in international conflict, what is the most effective way of dealing with a leader like Vladimir Putin? The Kremlin in the past few hours, Sergei Lavrov, also Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman there at the Kremlin, they've really been enjoying this. They're saying that this is kind of a restart, that abnormal relations with the US will end with this meeting between Putin and Trump, which the Saudis say is going to be prepared in Riyadh as those Russians and Americans meet. Is that the best way to deal with a leader like Putin, to bring him back into the fold, or the European view of completely isolating him?
Well, the European view is quite delusional, because their attempts to completely isolate him have backfired, and their own economies are absolutely melting down and being self-destructed. Putin, he says what he means. He doesn't go back on his word, and this is what a number of European leaders, including Orban and others, he states exactly what he wants. The problem being, I don't think this will go back to normal. It'll be one issue resolved, because the level of trust between the US and Russia is at an all-time low, and this is not going to bring it back. Trump has said some pretty incendiary things about Russia as he speaks, and has said many inflammatory things against all kinds of people. So this is one issue at a time, rather than building this kind of relational entity back. It's not. This is purely transactional, and it's transactional on the level of realism. And this is all about interests, and it's about power and influence.
Greg, really appreciate the analysis. Thank you so much indeed.